On top the death of Inspector Onu Ako, one of the security details of the All Progressive Congress APC gubernatorial candidate Senator Monday Okpebholo, and the plenty katakata wey shele for Airport Road, Benin City on the 18th of July 2024, Edo State Commissioner for Information and Orientation Honorable Nehikhare and Special Advisor on Media Projects Osagie don hold one talk-talk session with Tori people to yarn them on how dem see the matter, the breach of public peace, law and order for the Benin metropolis. Dem talk say
Shaibu got judgment at the High Court, where the High Court reinstated him as that his impeachment was faulty. And just like he had a right to go to court when he was impeached, so also the Edo State government and the House of Assembly have the same rights to appeal that judgment. That judgment, we believe, was faulty, and it's our right to go up to find out the opinion of the appeal court. And the process for appeal is also very clear. We immediately received the CTC very early yesterday morning, filed for a stay of execution of the court order. And of course, the first thing you do is to have filed for a notice of a stay, which legally, once that is done and settled in all legal cases, is that once that is done, the status quo remains. The status quo being that Philip Shaibu remains the impeached deputy governor until such a time the appeal court determines that it's no longer necessary. And even though the High Court had given directives to the police to execute the judgment, which is what is done everywhere, the police, law enforcement agencies execute judgments. Nobody that gets judgment executes judgment by himself or with the aid of thugs. What we saw yesterday was a blatant disregard for law and order. The former deputy governor, in company of his newfound friend, the mute governorship candidate of the APC, flew into Benin. But before coming into Benin, they mobilized thugs, armed thugs, known thugs, street urchins, in an attempt to destabilize Edo people and destabilize Benin City. They brought in hundreds of thugs from their political party, their friends, that we all know are thugs. They brought these people in and they broke into the Benin airport. I'm sure you're all aware that Benin airport is a security area where thugs or people are not allowed to gather in such a manner. And while this was going on, the Edo State Commissioner of Police rushed to the airport and advised Mr. Philip Shaibu and his co-traveler, the candidate of the APC, and told them that a notice of stay execution has been filed. And as such, what you're planning to do, you cannot invade Edo State Government House, because apparently the police had the intelligence report that that was their plan. And not only that, it was also told and shown the documents where this order or this file, this motion was submitted to the IG of police and even to his own office that this has been done. And gladly, a few minutes ago, I watched Mr. Shaibu on Arise Television, and he confirmed to Nigeria that the Commissioner of Police showed him that letter. In fact, Shaibu also showed a letter of that, showed a document to say that the stay of execution is being requested, and there's a motion for the stay. So, with total disregard for the Commissioner of Police for law and order, Shaibu insisted on storming Benin City. He was doing this even though the police commissioner had seen that he had come in with thugs and advised him to disperse the thugs and not do the road work he was planning to do. I told him that his thugs are armed because they were openly brandishing their guns. They were not hidden, openly brandishing weapons. Their plan was that they want to cause as much destruction, as much mayhem, as much chaos within the Benin metropolis. Because when this is done, they can now cry to the federal government to come and start making arrests of the Edo PDP politicians, including myself. Because they want us off the way so that they can do whatever they want to do for the election, to give them some advantage. But that's not really the issue. The federal government is aware, and we believe at this point should actually set up a high-powered investigative panel to investigate exactly what happened yesterday. And it's so sad now. Edo State government commiserates with the family of the police officer who lost his life in that unfortunate incident. It's a shame that a commissioner of police could not control Shaibu and his thugs, and now has led to the loss of life of one of his men. The State Commissioner of Police by now should be arresting Shaibu and the thugs he saw with them, because he knew they were armed, he knew they were out for a fight. But luckily for Edo people, they were at work. They were not really interested in what was going on. And some form of madness. When you arm people that are not properly trained in weapons handling, they begin to shoot guns randomly and indiscriminately, and anything can happen. I'm sure you also saw a video of these men singing war songs, and one of them leading the convoy, shooting guns in the presence of policemen. Shaibu was the leader of this gang. The Edo State government is calling on the federal government, calling on the IG to begin serious investigation for us to know the root cause of what happened yesterday, and for us also to know the cause of the death of the gallant police officer whose duty was to protect the APC candidate. And it still baffles us as a government how this could have happened on our streets. We've tried everything possible to make sure that this state is lawful. The police commissioner he had all the intelligence that Philip Shaibu was planning mayhem. They met up with Philip Shaibu at the airport, but Shaibu refused to back down because he believes in Machiavellian behavior. He thinks he's still a student union leader, forgetting that he was one time a member of our assembly, and he served as deputy governor before he was impeached for gross misconduct. Mr. Shaibu, I believe, should be in the police station and giving statements to the cause of, to the things that happened yesterday. He should be telling the police who he mobilized, who he gave guns to, and how come those people were in the airport waiting for him, and how they decided to march from the airport to wherever their final destination was. Shaibu is a regular member of the society just like you and I, and we must be treated as such. No special preference. As of today, or as yesterday when the crimes were committed, he is still not the Deputy Governor of Edo State. He has no constitutional immunity, and is at best to be described as a suspect in the events of what happened yesterday, and even in the death of one of our gallant police officers. Edo State government will cooperate with the police IG, the federal government, to reach the roots of this matter, to root out the bad eggs who parade themselves as politicians, but instead they are violent. I'm sure you're all aware that Shaibu has a history of violence. Even our royal father, Omanobane Doku Okpebholo Bawari II, in 2020 on live television, admonished Philip Shaibu to drop his weapons. It was things like this he kept on doing within the Edo State government that made it difficult for this government to reconcile with many of the members of PDP, because he believes in this Machiavellian behavior of destroying, of fighting, of being unreasonable, most probably because he doesn't have capacity to think otherwise. And then I think it's also necessary for us to tell the federal government that Edo State will not sit down and watch Philip Shaibu and his cohorts bring violence into the state. Their thugs were armed yesterday, and we believe those videos and pictures are available, and those thugs should be cooling themselves in police cells by now. Edo State government and people of Edo State are resolute that the elections coming up are going to be free and fair. We are not going to be intimidated or cowed by what they are referring to as federal powers, because that is their game plan. They know they've lost the election. They know they've been totally rejected by Edo people. And now they resorted to this type of violence to try and create the impression that there's trouble in Edo State. And then now try to instigate the federal government to act in such a manner as to try to intimidate PDP politicians and PDP leaders in Edo State. We want to assure the federal government that our states will continue to be peaceful, but they should rein in their Philip Shaibu and his cohorts.
Just say that we express our heartfelt condolences to the family of the officer that passed away on account of this mindless violence yesterday. We think it is squarely on the lap of Mr. Philip Shaibu, because he was warned by the police, none other person than the Commissioner of Police, that this sort of thing can happen if he carries out his wave of violence through the streets. But he defied the Commissioner of Police and came out still to cause this violence. So we believe that the full responsibility for this death sits squarely on the doorstep of Mr. Philip Shaibu. And like the Commissioner said, he's a private citizen like everybody else. If he has orchestrated the circumstances that led to the death of this man, he should be arrested, prosecuted, and justice should be served on him, just like it will happen to any other person. We want to call on all Edo people to go about their lawful businesses. Efforts are being made now to ensure that this violence does not escalate and does not degenerate, but we are calling on the police to do their jobs. The Commissioner of Police in this circumstance is a witness, because none other person than he, got to the airport, saw Mr. Philip Shaibu, showed him the notice of stay of execution, and asked him to stand down, but Mr. Philip Shaibu defied him because of Mr. Philip Shaibu's belief that he must always recourse to violence to achieve his goals. So we also call on the police, please rein in Mr. Philip Shaibu.
Make una no forget say, as we see am, na so we dey talk am. We not dey take blame. From Benin City, Ekata Ojisoli, TMC TV News.